Yeah. So I think what we see with Fring Alliance is that there are all the carriers without exception gets it, and they get the value proposition. They get the federation value proposition. They get the need. Some of them are, I would say, more conservative because it's their attitude to be conservative. Others are more aggressive. And it really depends if those carriers already tried something in OTT space and failed, and if they already understood that closed garden is bad for them. It's like a mental thing. It's like, are you or are you not? And the ones who are already, crossed that bridge are much more aggressive and much more in favor of doing things like the Fring Alliance. Because carriers, and I'm generalizing, most of them understand that they need to have strategy to address the OTT phenomenon. It's no longer a PR stunt. It's no longer, it's going to pass by. I'm going to give better prices. No. It's a paradigm shift. And if you don't have a strategy and you play tactically, you're going to lose it. So Fring Alliance is a valid strategy. I'm not saying it's the only one. I think it's the right one, but obviously you need to decide as the carrier. But it's a valid strategy, and it therefore is being evaluated by pretty much all the carriers that we've met. I think that only one or two actually said, listen, we just want to be a dumb pipe, just leave us alone, and that's it, which is a valid strategy. I would argue how much it's valuable, but it's a strategy. It's rational, right? Dictionary terminology of rational, right? So that's one. But what is interesting for us and what is unique for us, I believe, is two things. Number one, it's a federated alliance, meaning it's your user, it's your brand. You don't need to hand over your brand asset. You don't need to hand over your users. No, you keep them, but only now they're federated. And second, we're looking and we're bringing on board non-carriers into the alliance. We're looking at OEMs, we're looking at gaming companies, we're looking at credit card companies, because that actually enhances the overall value of the Fring Alliance, of the federated network. Because today, you don't need to have a SIM card. You don't need to have a physical phone to be in real-time communication, right? So the business drives the need and not vice versa, right? So I think that's a state of gravity. And the pace in which we're bringing partners is a good pace. It's a good pace. I'm actually quite happy about it, because it's not a hype. If it was like, if we had 200 carriers banging on our door, I would be actually worried, because they don't take it seriously. It's a PR stunt. Let's throw some money and play with it. No, but actually it goes through the process of product. It goes through the process of strategy, of the M&A, of the C-level guys. They take it seriously.
But it seems like you guys do need to get this rolling pretty quickly, because, I mean, the technology, everything changes so rapidly. I mean, like you kind of mentioned on stage, I mean, 6 years ago, RCS was this big thing that was going to take over the world, and it never really got traction, and now it's kind of
there.
On the wayside. Yeah. I mean, so there has to be some sort of this need to get this thing running fairly quickly, though, if you're going to get some sort of scale to really sustain this model over time.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and I think that that's where we're coming into the play, because we bring the technology IP and the operational IP and the OTT DNA, right? You're the carrier. You already acknowledge the fact that it's not your core competency. You bring your brand, you bring your users, you bring your billing relationship, you bring your regulatory footprint, you bring those assets. We bring the technology. It's our responsibility to make sure that this technology is cutting edge, most innovative, leading, all those things. That's what our commitment, right? So I'm not concerned about technology, right? Today we do WebRTC. That's the core center of gravity. Tomorrow we'll do WebRTC plus something.
Okay. So it's an evolving technology. I mean,
Totally, the entire.
Evolving all the time.
Yeah. RCS, in that matter, is more confined, because RCS, and again, I'm not disrespecting RCS in any way. I'm just saying they're not designed, or they were not designed within the same scope of where we're taking this. That's all. And the guys who did it are smart guys. So if we will figure out that in 6 months that WebRTC is great for this, but here we need something more sophisticated or different, we'll do it. Or we'll find a partner to do that with us, right? So we'll continue to lead. And what we do is allowing the carriers or the federation members to move from the back seat to the front seat and to steer it.
Okay. I mean, you kind of pointed to a device there, the Apple phone, obviously, that is a big driver of most markets when it comes to smartphone adoption. How are you guys able to work through the Apple walled garden that they pretty much, in a lot of countries, they limit pretty much what carriers can do when it comes to tapping into certain functions of the phone. And obviously, video is a big part of what you guys are trying to do. And at least here in the US, there's a lot of limitation of what Apple allows carriers to do. I mean, Verizon can't run its own VoLTE service over an iPhone and all those other ones because Apple won't allow it. I mean, how do you guys, I guess, deal with the Apple struggle there? Or is it even an issue for you guys?
It's not an issue.
Okay.
It's not an issue because we're not a carrier in the sense that we need to have some kind of relationship with Apple. We're an application.
Okay.
That obviously is a full-blown ecosystem, but we're running through the process of application approval with a WebRTC, fully native, the whole 9 yards. So we really don't have any issue with Apple.
Okay. So, but Apple does have to approve the application.
Yeah, and so far we haven't witnessed a situation where Apple didn't approve the application.
Okay.
Sometimes,
so it's fully integrated into Apple iOS now, where a customer can just push a button and taps everything.
yeah, absolutely. Even today, I mean, it works today. What we can't do, unlike in Android, we cannot replace the native data.
Yeah.
Steve Jobs Almighty doesn't allow it, personally.
Yeah. That's always been
Steve, please, come on.
At this point, seriously.
Yeah, well, there might be in the future, but right now it's not even an option. So yes, you will need to launch an application to make a call. Or to initiate a session. You do not need to launch an application to receive a call, right? That the notification mechanism works very well, and we have our own notification engine as well. Okay, so that works. But yeah, we can't replace the native data.
Is that a challenge, do you think, at some point? I mean, it's obviously any additional steps required by customers, usually you lose them.
Look, I'm a fanatic about user experience, and any unnecessary click is bad. Full stop. No excuses. So yes, if I could, I would, but I can't. So that's the reality.
That's very pragmatic. It's very nice. I mean, that's all you can do. But you're right. That's kind of the way it is. So, yeah.
That's the way it is.
Okay. You kind of mentioned, I mean, obviously, you wouldn't want to have 200 carriers on board immediately, but obviously the scale of it. I mean, is there a limitation to the size of this federation? I mean, do you guys, are there any sort of scale concerns? I mean, when you look at this thing growing, or are you comfortable that this could be theoretically worldwide at some point? I mean,
well, today it is worldwide. We have about 55 million subscribers worldwide. We're running with carriers across the globe. All our infrastructure runs on AWS and on Terramark across the globe. We feel quite confident that we'll be able to deal with spikes of usage and scalability, mainly because we have AWS as our cloud infrastructure, and we have Genband as the IP for the technology. So we're no longer the lean startup from backyard in Tel Aviv. We're with Genband, with all the muscles that comes with the mothership enterprise.
Okay. Is there any sort of a limitation to being kind of connected to a company that perhaps might make you guys seem like perhaps you're not as open as maybe a different type? I mean, if you're an independent company, you can kind of go wherever you need to go, so you're kind of tied to Genband a little bit. Well, I guess what's the benefit or the hindrance of being tied to maybe a company?
So first of all, Fring doesn't exist as a company.
Okay.
There's no such thing as Fring. Fring is a brand.
Okay.
Okay? And Candy is the platform that the Fring team is developing, and Fring is a packaged candy.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, yes, when you're part of a bigger organization, there are pros and cons, right? And without exception, I would say that the pros outbid the cons. And the main reason is because Genband has a management team that is very entrepreneurial. And think about it, for a company that bought Nortel, I don't know, 5, 6 years ago, I wasn't here, so I don't know, which is like hardcore telco, you know,
The old school stuff.
old school stuff.
Oh,
And in no time saying, no, 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 that's great, but the future is in real-time communication on the cloud, and say that out loud and dedicate the resources and the attention and the budget behind it is an aggressive play. It's not obvious. You can actually fail, and you know, in corporate, you don't really want to be the one who said, it's my idea and I failed, so spotlight is on me, right? And in this company, that's not the culture. The culture is, let's do things different. Let's do innovation. Let's do aggressive. Let's fail, but let's fast forward. And therefore, I feel really, really confident in the culture here. And I wouldn't say that there aren't things where I just want to kick the walls, right? Because that's life. And there's bureaucracy, and but it's really insignificant compared to what we're getting from being part of Genband.
And it seems like the competitive environment is too, it seems like it's spiked up quite a bit over the past couple of years. A lot of companies are getting involved and trying to do some sort of voice over whatever application, or whether it's WebRTC or whatever it is, and some of them recently failed, or at least had some struggles doing it as well.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like this is a very dynamic, I'm sure for you guys on the inside, it's got to be very, I mean, again, your speech, you were very lively up there, obviously you guys are pretty motivated and working pretty aggressive in this, so I'm sure it's a pretty lively environment for you.
It is. You know, I don't remember who said that you get most vivid when you feel the knife on your neck, right?
You feel most alive.
You feel most alive, thank you, right? And I think that is a good representation of what's happening in the market, right? For many kind of players out there, many kind of companies, they understand that they need to react, and now. Because if they won't, there won't be any market for them to play in 24 months. Now, it doesn't mean that we all know what we're doing, right? I'm not that naive. But there is a sense of urgency to react strategically. And then therefore you see all kind of maneuvers going on. And by the way, the biggest threat is Apple and Google and Facebook. Not the other OTTs. Viber is a pain in the side, you know, is a pain in the butt. But it's not a strategic pain. Apple is. And for Apple and Google and Facebook, it's a marketing decision to become a worldwide carrier and to throw everyone out of their iPhones, if they want to.
Yeah, I mean, how you tap them, because again, you're right, it does seem like, Google any day could just be, you know, they've had their platform for a while now.
Yeah.
They haven't really aggressively pushed it. I mean, if they really want to throw some money behind it, like, you know, Google money,
Well,
to be serious.
Obviously, you know, Google's executive don't consult with me, unfortunately. but I guess they're saying, yeah, let's play it slow. We have enough budget. We have enough time. Let's play it. Let's try that. And let's try that. Let's see what works. Let's see also what's the attitude of the regulators. Let's see what the market says. And once we're ready, we'll take it one market by the time. And we have the budgets, the time, the energy. No problem. Same for Apple, right? So if you ask me what Kara's really scared about, it's from those guys, not from the Vibers. Vibers are annoying. WeChat is annoying. If I need to rank the threats. At least if I was a carrier, that's the way I would look at the industry like this. So they need to react aggressively and strategically. And Fring Alliance is yet again a federation way to combat that. Because it ties back into the core value proposition of the carriers. Because the carriers has three assets that no one else has. It's the number, it's the billing relationship, and it's the brand. So if you tie back that into proliferation of devices, proliferation of networks, proliferation of environments, then if you do it right, and if you have enough players joining this, then you at least have a chance to provide value to your users instead of going either to Vibers, but actually to give to the Apples of the world the threshold into the user experience.
How important is it to have a consumer-facing part of this as well? Because, I mean, obviously it does seem like consumers are a finicky bunch, and every month there's a new whatever it is out there launching, and, you know, a new company will also get 60 million users, and, you know, next month they got nothing. I mean, is it important to kind of make sure you're at front and center of the minds of consumers on this, and to kind of aggressively work with your carrier partners to make sure that, I mean, how much work do you do with carrier partners when it comes to making sure that the Fring Alliance service that they're running gets gets in front of consumers? I mean, it's pretty much once a carrier signs up for this, it's all to the carrier to do whatever they want to do, or you guys provide support?
Well, we help. I mean, we will take the responsibility if the carrier so much desire to do the client, to do the UI, to do the whole thing. If the carrier says, no, I'll just give me an API, I'll do the rest, fine, we'll be a consultant.
Okay.
Lessons learned, best practices, and so forth. So it really depends on the carrier. I would say that most of the carriers, without, that's accepting, but most of the carriers don't know what they're doing, and they're asking us to do it for them. They acknowledge the fact that it's not the core competency, right? So they tried it once, they tried it second, it didn't work.
That's going to be scary, though. You'd think that a carrier would be familiar with running a voice service. I know it's obviously
Yeah, but not the mobile app.
Service,
But not the mobile app.
Sure. I guess there's a,
Yeah, it's like I've been to several workshops with really smart guys, right? And it's exactly the difference between technology and a product. Because technology, yes, we can terminate a call on your device. Great. And they showed me a demo, which, by the way, was amazing. Really worked flawlessly. But then I said, okay, that's great. So that's the product? She says, yeah. And there was a team of 10 German engineers. Each of them outsmart me, outgeek me by far, right? And then I said, okay, guys, that's great, but is there voicemail? No. Okay. After how many ringtones does it end? We haven't thought about that. Okay. Which side of the screen is the disconnect button? On the right side. It shouldn't be on the left side because right side is to make it full. Okay. And then what's the ringback tone? It's different from the regular tone. So that's confusing. So each of those decisions is not by itself complicated, right? But they don't have the mindset or the experience that we had to go through all those things that makes it from a technology to a product. Yeah. That's all. And if they had the time, they would have got there because they're not stupid. We just had 7 years of users kicking our butts every time we did a fuck up, like switching the sides of the icons. That's all. So that's it. That's the it's not even the gravy or the secret sauce. It's just hard work and experience. That's all.
Okay. And maybe one final question. I know during your presentation too, you kind of mentioned that I think it was about carriers are reliant on things that are 6 nines or 5 nines. I mean, really needing that carrier-grade aspect of it.
Yeah.
I guess, and again, for telecom operators, they're a very conservative bunch, and that's kind of their MO. Is that, I guess, a challenge to get them to perhaps lower that a little bit, or are you guys working to work up to that? Where's the middle ground when it comes to that nines thing?
When was the last time you talked to an engineer with a carrier? Out of curiosity.
It's been probably a couple weeks.
Okay. I'm generalizing.
Yeah.
Most of the engineers think about technology, not about the user.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them.
Sure.
And they're doing their job.
Mm-hmm.
Their job is to take off technology, right? So this 5 nines things has nothing to do with what the user wants, right? There's a disconnect. So whenever we're going to a carrier, we're not talking to the engineers by decision. Mm-hmm. We're going to talk to the product and the marketing guys. On the third meeting, we'll talk to the engineers because the marketing guys are the same guy. If the user says good enough, and it's 2 nines, or 3 nines, or 7 nines, that the user will define and decide if it's good enough. And by the way, there's enough OTT traffic out there in the world running on best effort that the paradigm of nines is no longer relevant.
Sure, that's a good point. You're
right?
Yes.
So to be honest, I don't know how many nines we need to have. I really don't. I know that whenever the service is below level, my guys need to get involved. What exactly is this threshold? Very often it's different from one carrier to another. And to be crystal clear, we're not 5 nines.
Mm-hmm.
Our backend is, but not the last mile.
That's always a big challenge, it seems like, for these types of over-the-top services.
Yeah.
It's going to be nearly impossible to get that.
But the moment you say it out front to the users, like, guys, this is best effort. And the best effort is good enough, then it's good enough. If
someone's paying for it, though, that's where it becomes an
issue. No, it's not.
Okay.
It's not. Because I'll give you a stupid example and you'll get it. Right? there is a technology possibility to do a handoff between Wi-Fi to 3G when you walk out of an apartment over the phone. You can do that. We can do that. I can demo it to you, okay? The effort on technology is huge because I need to sense that the signal is weakening and to hand off the call in real time, a really complicated solution. It works, but it's complicated. And we had to spend a lot of energy with some of the carriers to tell them, guys, the user experience and the use case doesn't make sense to invest the energy there. Because the amount of times you have users walking out of the apartment while they're in the middle of a Wi-Fi call into a 3G call is 1 out of 100,000? I don't know. It's not a real use case. It's one of the things that your engineers think it needs to be, not your users. Okay? So it's not 5 nines. It's now by design, you're no longer 5 nines. You're somewhere closer to the 99 point something, right? So it comes down to, yes, you need to have a minimum quality of service, which is probably around 99.9, probably. The 2 other nines are not there. That's our experience, at least.
I mean, it's a changing world. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, again, it's the old telecom world. It was always the 5 9 to try. I mean, as consumers do seem to be a little more, I guess, open to.
Yeah, and it's getting better. And by the way, it's getting better all the time.
Sure.
You deploy more and more broadband networks, better. It's getting better.
Sure.
So I think that the reality would be that in a couple of years, by default, we'll be back in 5 nines. Not because we did something, just because the overall industry went up.